According to the lore of the Umu Eri people, the Umu Eri clan was founded by a celestial being known as Arie. Arie was said to sit on the right hand of Chukwu with his wife, Namaku, and Obi Chukwu, before being sent to Earth to service humanity. Arie descended from the sky with a rope upon receiving his mission, and upon landing on Earth, Arie made a strange discovery. Now before this, Chukwu's wife, Umeike, died in a great explosion. Chukwu carried her body and covered her in a bed of tears that flowed from his eyes, known as Ushimiri. The life-giving force of the water allowed her to reincarnate as Anna, the earth itself, or the earth mother. And on her body, Arie would land with his wife and found a new way of life. But upon landing, Arie found himself trapped, for all was covered in water except the small anthill that he and his wife had landed on. Now Arie was close to Chukwu and Chukwu close to Arie. So when Arie called upon Chukwu for a solution, Chukwu promptly sent a metalsmith from nearby Awka, a neighboring community legendary for its proficiency in metalworks, to help solve the problem. The smith used the heat from his furnace to clear the water, and once the water was cleared, Arie and Namaku gave birth to 2 children, boy and girl. To feed his family, Arie would pray to Chukwu, and Chukwu would send Azuigwe, or heavenly fish, for him to eat with his family. And as this continued, Arie's family grew and grew, until after a great many years, Arie, the father of the clan, died. Upon the passing of the father, Nri, Arie's firstborn son, became the leader of the family, as he was a parent and husband at this time. But Nri had a problem that his father never had. Nri, Arie's firstborn son, became the patriarch of the family upon the death of his father, and like his father, he led the family in this new land. But Nri had a problem that his father never had. When Nri would ask Chukwu for Azuigwe, nothing came. As he and his own children grew hungrier, they pled and pled, but nothing happened. With every rising day, their bellies grew emptier. Hungry and confused, Nri asked Chukwu for a solution. It was then that the voice of Chukwu re-emerged and told Nri something he did not want to hear. Chukwu said to Nri that he must kill his 2 oldest children, his oldest son and his oldest daughter, and bury them into the earth for food to emerge. Outraged by the request, Nri refused the sacrifice, and under the weight of his hunger, he ignored Chukwu's grim demand. And so Chukwu's voice went away, but the hunger did not. After some time had passed, Chukwu returned, but with a new offer. Nri was still commanded to bury his family's Diokbara, or first son, and his family's Ada, or first daughter, to end the hunger. But Chukwu promised Nri that he would place the sacred Iche marks on their foreheads before death. And with this offer, Nri agreed. Once he agreed, Chukwu sent an Awka man to Nri's land to carve the Iche marks on his first daughter's head and his first son's head. When this was over, Nri severed the heads of his Diokbara and his Ada and buried them in the earth as Chukwu had instructed. But nothing came from the graves. Nri waited and waited and waited. 3 market weeks passed, and on the 12th day, the earth began to sprout. And from the grave of his son, Nri dug up yams, and from the grave of his daughter, Nri dug up cocoa yams. Overwhelmed with happiness, Nri praised the heavens for the gift, and in a frenzy, Nri ate the yam that came from the earth, and passed into a deep sleep, a sleep so deep that the rest of his family assumed he was dead. But alas, he rose, and in another frenzy he devoured the cocoa yam, and again fell into a deep sleep. His family used what was left to plant more yams, but before he can attack them in another frenzy, the voice of Chukwu returned with new instructions. Nri was told to share this great gift with all of the communities of the world, but knowing the pain of hunger, Nri refused. He knew what he sacrificed to gain this great gift, and it would only be him and his family that enjoyed the fruits of this painful sacrifice. Chukwu, knowing Nri was hard to convince, came with another bargain. And I'll finish this story in the Ozo Explained video. If you're new to the channel, I discuss Igbo spirituality, and if you're interested in this topic, hit subscribe and make sure you hit the icon bell, because that's how you'll get notifications when I make new videos. Again, I discuss Igbo spirituality, cosmology, and culture. And if there's any topic you're interested in, or anything I mentioned that you'd like more details about or its own video, leave a comment below. The best way to support the channel is by joining our Patreon at patreon.com/themedicineshell. All of my patrons have access to my research library, where I get my information from. It has hundreds of ebooks, articles, and studies, as well as first-hand historical sources and documents on Igbo spirituality, culture, and history. I've also added Bini and Yoruba topics, as well as Efik and other surrounding cultures, and documents on practices in the diaspora, such as Hoodoo, Obe, and Santeria. We've also started a study group. It is a live discussion on various topics between me and the patrons. And lastly, we have an accomplished in-house Dibia for individuals that are interested in one-on-one readings, therapy, and consultation. I've become a huge fan of the group studies. I have a lot of sharp people in there, so if you're interested, I highly recommend. Again, support the channel at patreon.com/themedicineshell.